3월 5일 다음 주 화요일은 예비선거일입니다. 오늘은 연방 하원의원직에 도전장을 낸 데이브 민 캘리포니아주 상원의원과 다양한 이야기 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. Hello, Senator.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. Thank you for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you for having me. 반갑습니다.
반갑습니다. Can you do a brief introduction of yourself to our viewers, please?
예, 제 이름은 데이브 민입니다. 저는 37에서 상원의원입니다. And I'm running for Congress in the same area. You may know me because I ran before, and I am the most senior Korean American Democrat in California.
Right. So, as a senator, it's been already 3+ years. What are the biggest accomplishments?
Well, we've been able to pass so many great bills into law. I've authored 28 bills that became law. I was proud to bring back over $80 million into my Orange County district. But some of the bills I'm proudest of, and some of the things we're proudest of, are around defending the Asian community, in particular the Korean American community. And so your viewers may remember that back in 2021, the Department of Motor Vehicles proposed ending all 22 written languages from their driver's test. One of those was Korean. And I was able to organize a group of legislators. We were able to get that decision overturned by the governor. We know that was so important for so many of our seniors. I've also been proud to fight for resources for the Asian community. We passed the Asian equity budget a couple years ago that got $166 million allocated to community health organizations, to ethnic media organizations, and other Asian groups that are trying to reach out in our community to try to stop anti-Asian hate and to try to help our communities integrate better, to receive resources better. One of the bills I've authored this year is a bill that would create a new Office of Language Access to make sure that all of the agencies in California that deliver resources, grants, different types of programs, whether for students or workers or small businesses, also make sure that they translate all those outreach efforts into different languages, including Korean. I think that's important because we hear so many times from immigrant-owned businesses or immigrant communities that they didn't know about particular resources that were available, and that's a mistake on our end, so we've been trying to do that. Other things I've been leader on in the state legislature include trying to stop gun violence, and I've passed some leading legislation here, and trying to address climate change, which I think is a really important issue. And then finally, I just want to mention I've worked really hard to try to improve our public schools, and I'm really proud of the fact that since I took office, the student-teacher ratios have gotten smaller, that we've allocated more funding to our public schools. That is something we have to keep doing because I know my kids are in public school. I'm a product of California public schools. And I know that public schools are the way that people get ahead. They're the key to the American dream here in this country.
Okay, so I have to ask you this question because it is relevant to our discussion. Can you tell us what happened with your DUI?
Yeah, and it was the worst mistake in my life, and I want to say I apologize. 미안해요. I let a lot of people down in the Korean community, in my family, and it was a mistake I've never made before, and a mistake that will never happen again. And I'll just say, when I was in college and law school, and the first part of my career, I was on the East Coast. So I grew up in California, but then I went to UPenn in Philadelphia, then I went to Harvard Law School in Cambridge, and then my first job was in New York City. And I did not drive, I didn't have a car in any of those places, so when I went out drinking with friends or whatever, we never drove, any of us. And by the time I moved back to California, I had a child who was an infant back in 2011. I had 2 more kids after that. So I really never grew up, I never had alcohol and driving in my system. The night in question when I had the DUI, I was in Sacramento, and I went out earlier in the night. I had a few drinks, and then later in the night, I went out with a group of people from Orange County, and they invited me to dinner. They went to a very expensive steakhouse, and I didn't want to take a free meal from them, so I didn't eat anything, but I also didn't drink anything for the last 3 hours I was out. So when I got back to the office to pick up my computer, I thought I was okay to drive. because I hadn't drunk in the last few hours. But it was a stupid decision on my part. I had been drinking earlier. I should not have made that decision while I was impaired, and I will never do that again. And I've stopped drinking, but just this will never happen again. And the one thing I will say is, I have always, look, I made a mistake, but I've always been honest. I've always tried to live my life with integrity, and I hope that people still remember that about me. I'm an Eagle Scout, I'm a father of young children, and while this was a terrible, stupid mistake, it was a mistake. It was not me abusing my office, it was not me lying. I just made a very dumb mistake, and I hope the Korean community can forgive me for this and judge me based on everything I've done and not on the worst moment of my life.
Right. It will never happen again.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So now you're running for Congress in Orange County. What motivated you to run for this position?
So Katie Porter, who is in the seat right now, reached out to me back in 2022 after her election, and letting me know that she'd be running for the United States Senate and leaving the congressional seat behind. And we talked about this quite a lot, and the importance of keeping the seat Democratic, because control of Congress may depend on who keeps the seat, who wins the seat. I'd won here before. I'd done very well. And I think it's also important to elect people who will try to get things done and do the right thing. And we talked a long time, and you know, she offered to endorse me, to give me her full support. I thought about it. I talked to my wife, of course, and you know, for me right now, I mean, I'm not someone who's a career politician. You know, before I was in the state Senate, I was a law professor at UC Irvine. I had testified 6 times before Congress. I was regularly a guest on CNBC and MSNBC. I did not think I'd be in politics because, you know, who wants this job I have now? But, you know, I think this country's really going in the wrong direction. And when I think about the country that my mom and dad came to in 1971, that was a country that gave people opportunity, welcomed people. The whole ethic of America is about the American dream and welcoming people and embracing diversity, offering economic opportunity, and being a beacon of democracy. And all those values right now, I think, are under attack. And I think it is so important that we get this right. And we as Korean Americans also have to step up. I know we've often, as a community, not wanted to get involved in politics, but I think right now we have to get involved in politics. We have to make this country the country that is the country of our values, not the values of some people that want to get rid of the democracy and get rid of our diversity and bar immigrants from coming here. That's not the country that I grew up in. It's not the country I want my kids to grow up in. And so that's why I'm running.
But we recently started to see an increase in this negative ads, political ads. What's going on, and is there anything you would like to share with your constituents? Yeah, so I'm seen as one of the strongest candidates in the country on the Democratic side. I've raised $1.8 million. There is another Democrat in my race who had never run for any office before. This is her first campaign ever. She doesn't live in the district, and she has her own problems. We did not think that this was going to be a serious campaign, but then about 3 weeks ago, the American-Israeli Political Action Committee, AIPAC, decided to jump into my race, and they've spent so far over $3 million attacking me, and we expect that number will be over $5 million. And I'll be honest and say no one understands why they're attacking me, because I've been very strongly pro-Israel. I have not called for a ceasefire. I'm not seen as one of these people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or the Squad. The only thing we can gather is that they may be coming after me because I'm a strong Democrat, and obviously they're very Republican aligned. Some of their top donors, in fact, most of their top donors are the same donors that give to Trump. And so it looks like they are trying to knock out the strongest Democrat here so they can help the Republicans take back the House, or keep the House next year. And so that's what we gather. We're fighting back. But we're getting outspent right now 4-1 with all these attack ads coming in. The polling, though, is very good. We're winning. We are in good shape to make it into the general election. But with all these negative attack ads, we need help. And so we need every Hanmin person out there to vote for me, to tell your friends to vote for me. And if you can help us by volunteering or giving us a donation, just to help us a little bit. Our message is strong. I'm endorsed by the Democratic Party.
by Katie Porter, by environmental groups, by a lot of labor groups. We are in a good position to win this, but you know, the money does get ads out there, and I know a lot of people out there have seen really vicious attack ads against me, and that's just how they're playing right now. And you know, what we're hearing on the ground is those are not working, but you know, they'll keep coming at us very hard.
So who is this? Your opponent? She never run for office? She's not a politician?
Yeah, Joanna Weiss is her name, and she's not run for any office before. My understanding is she has not had regular employment for about 15 years. Looks like she's trying to buy herself a congressional seat. And again, we didn't take her very seriously until this AIPAC group started jumping in with so much money. Now we have to take her seriously. And I'll also just say she has been accused by leading Asian leaders in Orange County of running a racist campaign against Asians. They have used a lot of racist stereotypes. They keep saying, I'm not trustworthy, you can't trust Dave Min. They recently put out an ad with my face in yellow. And of course, as you all know, this was the yellow peril that we were called a yellow danger to America for centuries. And it looks like they're just feeding directly into these attacks against me.
Okay, I think people should know that. And lastly, do you have any message you would like to share with the Korean American viewers?
제 이름은 Dave Min입니다. 3월 5일에서 제 생일입니다. So if you could give me a birthday present, 투표해 주세요. And if you also want to help me have a good birthday party, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. And I also just want to say thank you to my mom and dad for all you've done for me. I know you're watching this election closely, and we have done an honorable, good fighting, and we'll keep doing the good fight. But thank you. Love you, Mom and Dad.
네, 지금까지 데이브 민 가주 상원 의원이었습니다. Thank you.
감사합니다.
감사합니다.